Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Salman. How are you?
Walaikum salam. Alhamdulillah, everything is fine.
Sir, I don't need to mention that how happy I am always to talk to you and how honored I feel because you have been one of my inspirations to pursue this field of study and this side of the industry that was not explored much before. So thank you for all your inspiration and all your guidance and help throughout.
Thanks, Faizan. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, and I always amazed by your work and the work which your wife is doing. And it looks like to me just yesterday when we first met, I think in the UET faculty office way back, I think 8 or 9 years ago. So
Yes,
time passed quickly, and I'm glad that you
it
came
did.
here, finished your PhD. So congratulations again on completing your PhD with flying colors.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So what I wanted to do today was take your reflections on the construction industry here in the US and the comparison with the construction industry in Pakistan and your views on what is required really to improve the connections between academia and the industry in Pakistan and also the kind of research we require back home. But first, let's talk about what you're up to nowadays. What are you working on?
All right. So I'm a professor at McWhorter School of Building Science at Auburn University, which is in state of Alabama. We are located in deep south. So building science means construction management. We prepare students to work with general and subcontractors as project managers and site superintendents. So I joined this program way back in 2006, almost 14, 15 years. And there are a number of courses which I taught in this program, I think over 20 different courses. But most of my teaching and research is related with information technology. So when I started teaching in 2006, building information modeling was evolving. So that was one of the first course that I developed and started to teach. And over the years, I have expanded that course. Now it's not only restricted to BIM, but we are also covering many other state-of-the-art technologies. For example, virtual reality, augmented or mixed reality, laser scanning. We are also working with 3D printing, modular construction, prefabrication. So all those things. And most of my research is also focused on this topic. So during the last 3 years, I've done a number of projects related with mixed reality where we investigated its applications in construction assemblies, building inspections, maintenance. And for those of you who do not know what is mixed reality, it's basically a technology which creates 3D holograms. And using those holograms and associated photographs and videos, we can perform any task without looking at the 2D drawings. So 3 years ago, one of my students, he investigated applications of mixed reality for construction assembly. So we constructed a number of small units, basically bathrooms and small rooms using 3D holograms without looking at the 2D drawings. So once you are using mixed reality, which can be enabled through different devices, for example, we used Microsoft HoloLens, it creates a 3D hologram. So it shows you that where a particular wall will go or a particular stud will go. So all you need to do is to pick that component and place in its place. So it saves a lot of time. The research which we did pointed out that we can improve our productivity by 15 to 20%. And of course, once the technology is further improved, the productivity can be further improved as well. And very recently, we finished one research where we used mixed reality for buildings inspection and maintenance. So for example, and it's very interesting that how we started on this research. So in my office, I had several light sensors.
Mhm.
And on one day, one of the light sensor was not working. So I called facilities and their technician came and he was looking at the light sensor. So he found that there is some problem with the light sensor, but he does not know how to rectify it. So he has to call his department. They send him manuals. So he went through all the manuals, and it took him almost 3 to 4 hours to investigate what the problem is. So we thought that why not we used mixed reality, where he can get all those instructions, manuals by wearing the HoloLens, and does not go back and forth to his office to get all the drawings and specs and manuals. So one of my students, and in fact, he's from UT Lahore as well, very recently graduated. So he developed several apps within the HoloLens where person can wear it, and it provides him step-by-step instructions for looking at any device, whether it is occupancy sensor, a light fixture, or a hot water pipe. He can also browse different videos that can provide him instructions for repairing it. We also pulled several videos which were created in YouTube, but he was able to watch them through HoloLens. And the work which was earlier finished in 4 hours, we found that the same work with new technicians, they were able to complete in less than 30 minutes. So right now, in fact, I started to work with a company in Australia. They are investigating its applications in healthcare units, for example, hospitals. And I have a couple of students who are planning to use it for different safety scenarios related with COVID-19. So for example, if a construction manager or a site superintendent is wearing the HoloLens and we are trying to integrate it with thermal cameras, he can quickly monitor the temperature of all the construction workers. So more or less, that's the kind of research I'm working on these days. Now, if you, yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just going to say it's amazing. I mean, that's something that looks a little sci-fi, and at the same time, because I've visited you and I saw all those things happening there. So it's very optimistic to see all those happenings. And I got a chance to attend some conferences recently also. So I got an exposure of all the work that is being done in the construction industry field. And it hits you hard that where we've come so far in such a less time. And it's just hopeful, but at the same time, we'll jump to the Pakistani industry and how we can change things there. But before that, you were going to say something. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No. So I was just saying that almost 15, 20 years ago, there used to be a cartoon series, Jetsons,
Yes.
where they show all the high tech. And at that time, we never thought that in the next 10 to 15 years, we can experience the same things which Jetsons used to experience in their homeland. But these days, I think during the last 5 years, there is a lot of development, a lot of new companies are coming on, and all those gadgets, which we only saw in the movies as well as in the cartoons, now they are available in reality. So last year, I attended the SEC electronic show in Las Vegas. So there are a number of devices which are in the development. One of very interesting device which I'm waiting for to release is called HoloLamp. So it would be a 3D projector that can project holographic images. And basically right now we are talking in 2D mode using Zoom, but it might be possible in 3 or 4 years we can communicate through holograms.
I would love to see that. So Dr. Salman, I kind of see the things here and then I constantly compare them with the situation back home. And you have worked on projects in Pakistan as well, right? So based on your experience and your expertise and your overview, what do you think is lacking in the Pakistani industry that is holding it back from adopting the innovation? And what are some of the steps the researchers, can take back home to really expedite and accelerate that process of accepting and absorbing innovation into the industry?
All right. So if you look at the Pakistani construction industry in general during the last 70 years, I would say that it passed through 3 different phases of development. The first period was between 60s and 70s when lot of infrastructure projects were constructed. Mangla Dam was built, Tarbela Dam, lot of highway projects. We also built our first electric train. So that was the time when there were a number of foreign construction companies. They set up their offices in Pakistan, and even they were operating number of construction projects in South Asia and Southeast Asia by using Pakistan as a hub. Then from 70s to 90s, mid 90s, we don't see any much progress in the construction industry. In fact, that was a decline in the construction industry. But then from mid 90s, again, construction industry picked up. Ghazi-Brotha Dam was constructed, then Motorway M1 project was started, and we saw that at that time, instead of European and American companies, Korean companies, they started to invest in Pakistan and completed some projects. And that era, I think it went up to 2002, 2003. Then again, there was a slowdown period for 6 to 7 years. And I think in 2011, 12, it again picked up. And at that time, there were Chinese companies who came to Pakistan, and number of projects were constructed. For example, Lahore Metro, Orange Rail, several sections of motorway. There were a number of power plants that were built. So if I go back, I worked in Pakistan construction industry in 1996. And then between 2010 to 2018, I worked on 2 big research projects in Pakistan. So I got a chance to talk with the construction companies and see the progress. So if I go back to 1995, at that time, there was not much technology available in Pakistani construction industry. Hardly at that time I saw any tower cranes. I was working on the underpass at Firozpur Road, and I remember that there was no casing technology available in Pakistan for piles. So I stayed on that project, I think, for 4 or 5 months. And during that time, we were able to bore only 5 or 6 piles. Because without casing, you can bore a pile and then it collapsed and you have to redo the process again. But in 2010, when I started the research project with NUST, there were a lot of developments. At least you could see a lot of tower cranes in Pakistan. There were ready-mixed concrete plants available, better heavy equipment were available. And same thing, I think, with the introduction of the Chinese companies, they brought a lot of new technology to Pakistan. Now, if I look at the problems in the construction industry in Pakistan, I think number one issue is skilled labor. In the past, I read in 60s and 70s, there were specific families as well as training schools which train different trades. For example, concrete workers, electricians, masoners, and so on. But recently, if I look at the trade workers, you can see a big lag. So there are not many trade workers who are available that can work in specific trades. So first thing, I think we need to improve this thing in Pakistan. We need to trade workers who can perform different specialty jobs. Second thing, I think we are still lacking in terms of using heavy equipment. For example, if you look at the cranes that are available in Pakistan that can operate really heavy equipment, there are very few available. And similarly is the case for earth moving equipment and other things. So that's the second thing which we are lagging. But I think once the projects will increase, it will give encouragement to contractors to import new equipment to Pakistan. I think third biggest issue is the managerial skills. So one of the problem which I found in Pakistan, we are training and producing civil engineers. And there is no harm. I'm civil engineer. I also have master's degree in structural engineering. But the way we are trained, design work is only 5 to 10% of the construction cost. 90% is the construction work itself, which does not require design skills. You need better managerial skills. So for example, we are still lacking good estimators, schedulers. I think in Pakistan, there may be less than 100 schedulers who can create a really heavy cost-loaded schedule in P6 or other softwares. Similarly, we are lacking expertise in safety management, risk management, quality is another issue. So I think if we talk about the connection between construction industry in Pakistan and academia, we need to change gears. We should produce civil engineers, but at the same time, we have to produce construction managers as well. For example, in the US, if you look at the construction programs, I think the first construction program was established in 1934, Rinker School at University of Florida. Our program at Auburn is the third one, established in 1947. And right now, I think there are more than 150 construction programs all over the US. And if you look at the number of students they are graduating, each program is graduating between 100 to 150 students. And then we did a lot of surveys about the salaries of those students as compared to civil engineers. And in fact, our students are getting 10 to 15% higher salary as compared to engineers. And their career path is much quicker as compared to traditional design engineers. So the same thinking we need to bring in Pakistan. Now, I visit Pakistan every year. I conducted a lot of seminars on different topics in Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi, and talk with a number of academics about establishing construction management programs in Pakistan. I think one of the biggest hurdle is the mindset. And I would say that Pakistan Engineering Council, because somehow they have set up their accreditation standards in a way that they consider that any course which does not require any or have any design component is not needed. So if you look at the curriculum of civil engineering programs, you will see that 90% of the courses are design courses. Hardly we are teaching very few management courses.
True.
So that's why we are lacking good estimators, we are lacking good schedulers, risk managers, and so on. And in US, it was the same problem way back in 60s and 70s because ABET standards, which is the accreditation body for engineering programs all over the world, they do not allow you much innovation. So if you want to teach a lot of management courses, you may not do so within ABET standards. So you have to change. Like in US, due to the same problem, a new accreditation body was created, ACCE, American Council for Construction Education. So they are accrediting most of the construction programs, not only in US, but also in UK. They also are accrediting programs in China, Australia, a few programs in India. So I think universities in Pakistan, they also have to take some innovative step and start thinking about introducing management programs. There are a number of universities who are teaching MBA. So construction management, you can consider as MBA of construction. It's management with an emphasis of construction. And such programs are much more easy to establish as compared to engineering programs. You do not need any high-tech labs. The only thing you need some skilled people who can teach those courses.
Thank you for your wonderful reflections, Dr. Salman. That's all very, it's a holistic picture that you presented there, and it all really puts the pieces of the puzzles together. So the last thing I would like to ask you is that I was fortunate to get a scholarship and come to the US to study. And now I feel like very less number of students, especially from civil engineering, they aim for United States as their destination of study. And in my observation, it's partly the fear of GRE, partly the complex that they are not good enough. But what is your observation, first of all, in this regard? And what do you suggest to students who are potential future graduate students in the US and even undergrad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first of all, definitely, I would say that the preparation you need to come to US is way more harder as compared to other countries, for example, UK, Singapore, or Australia. So many of the students, they try to pick an easy path where they don't have to take any exams and they can just apply and go to those universities. But I can tell you one thing, because I have seen education in all the different countries. So if you compare the education in US as compared to Europe or Australia, it is way more innovative and practical. So if you do a graduate studies in, for example, in UK or in Australia, you will see that most of their curriculum is theoretical. You will learn about a lot of practices which are maybe good for you to take PMI exam or those kind of project management exams, but they are not applicable really in the construction industry. Whereas programs in US, whether those are design programs or construction programs, they prepare students to become job ready employees from day one. So the education which you will get in US is way more innovative and practical as compared to other countries. Now, of course, there is some hard things attached with that education. You have to prepare yourself, but it's not very difficult. So whenever I receive queries from at least 30 to 40 students from Pakistan every year, and most of those students have not taken GRE as compared to students from India or China who have already taken those exams when they contact me. And when I ask students to take GRE exam, I would say that 90% of them disappear. They never contact again. So first of all, let me tell you that GRE is a very easy exam. If you have completed your engineering education, you just need 4 to 6 weeks to prepare for it. And you don't need to study in any academy, just purchase any book. And in fact, what I suggest to students that go to GRE or ETS website, take an exam without preparation, and that will tell you that how much preparation you would need. But in general, with 4 to 6 weeks preparation, you can get good scores which are required in US. And besides GRE, you need TOEFL score. IELTS is accepted as well, so any of those English proficiency exam is good. Another thing which is very important, you have to prepare a statement of purpose. And let me tell you from my experience, that statement of purpose is very, very important. Now, what I found in Pakistan, most of the students, they search web, look for the generic statements of purpose and prepare something in one page. And once we read those statements of purpose, every year we read maybe more than 100 such statements. So very quickly we identify whether it is written by a student by him or herself, or it is copied from the web. Another problem which I found, many students, they apply to multiple schools and they prepare one generic statement of purpose which they send to all the schools. And once we read it, it gives us very clear idea that how much time a student has spent to investigate about our programs. In our admission decisions, that is very, very important. So many times we have 30 students with the same GRE scores and we have to pick 10 students we are going to provide scholarships. So we pick those 10 students based on their statement of purpose, that how specific it is, how much time students have spent to investigate about our program, about our facilities, as well as our faculty. So if we found some specific connections where students read about a specific professor, about his research, and he's saying that I'm interested to work with that professor in that area, then that student is more important to us than another student who has provided us a very long statement of purpose, but there is no specific thing to our program. So these are the things. What I would advise to students is that, first of all, before contacting any professors, they should take these exams. Because once you contact professors, they will look at these exams. And in many cases, we also look at the exam scores from commitment point of view. Because if some student is not interested in taking GRE or TOEFL, it shows me that student is not very committed or not in higher studies. So very quickly, I ruled out those students. So they should contact the professors after taking these exams. They should be very specific while preparing their application. And once they apply, they have to make sure that what are the admission steps, they quickly follow those steps. Because many times it happens that the website states that you have to follow these first 6 steps. And we found that students don't follow those steps closely, and there are a number of documents which are missing. And last thing what I will advise to them is letters of recommendation. We do read those letters of recommendation very carefully, and it is not necessary that you should get your letters of recommendation from some high ranking people. That's another problem which I found, that students try to get recommendation letters from department chair, from deans, and they felt that if the dean or vice chancellor is recommending them, then their application will have more weightage. This is incorrect. we look for those people who know the students best. So if you're getting recommendation letters from an instructor who taught you 4 courses, or an employer, you work in that company for 4 years or for 2 years, those recommendation letters are more important for us as compared to recommendation letters from a dean or a chairman.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suman. I really, really regard you for all your explanation of the process and how things matter more and less. And it's very unfortunate that we don't have that exposure yet back home. And though I'm seeing more and more students applying, but they're still not comparable to any other program. Like people from NUST apply all the time. People from UAT, they're, I don't know, still scared. So hopefully things will change. And
one thing which I found, if I compare the number of students coming to US from Pakistan as compared to students from other developing countries, still it's a fraction.
exactly.
So for example, at Auburn University, we have 23 students from Pakistan as compared to 67 students from Sri Lanka, 198 students from Bangladesh, 79 students from Nepal, and of course from India, there are 400 or 500 students. So if I compare those small nations which are across us, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, our students are far less as compared to those countries. So I think that's a matter of worry for us. And I think back home, our instructors and educators, they need to guide students. And I think one more problem, let me tell you very frankly, which I found students from Pakistan, especially these days, is the hard work. Students come here, but they are not willing to do hard work. I remember when I was doing my master's and PhD, we used to sit in the graduate student office until midnight sometimes. During the last 1 year, I was returning home during the early morning hours. But these days, I found that even my graduate students, they don't want to sit in the graduate student office after 5 p.m. So I think that's one thing which I seriously found an issue in Pakistani students these days, that they don't want to do hard work. And second thing is the extra skills development. So once I get students from China or India, they have a lot of extra skills. They know several programming languages. They know how to do better presentations. But students in Pakistan, they are lacking in those skills. So what I advise from students from Pakistan, if they are applying to US, they should be proficient in certain skills. For example, if they want to do research in technology, they should know building information modeling software very well. They should know some programming languages, for example, C# or C++. Unity is another language or programming skill, which is very much needed in USA, especially if you want to do research on virtual or mixed reality. And I can say that if students they have expertise in Unity, they can find out graduate student assistantship very, very easily. There are a number of programs across the US who want to do research in that area, but they are lacking students who have degrees in engineering, at the same time expertise in Unity, C#, and those kind of programming languages.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Salman. I'll not take more time. You have already given me so much, so I'll let you go. And any last message? Any point of advice?
Two things. First is hard work. So I would say that do hard work all the time and keep yourself motivated. Now, there are many things which come in your life which can demotivate you. You may apply and sometimes you can see rejections, but you should not be disappointed from those rejections. I can tell you that once I graduated from UET, I got first position in UET, but when I went for my first interview at NESPAC, they asked me, I think, 25 questions, and I was not able to answer any question. And later on, in fact, and I was not disappointed. They told me to go back, prepare. And in my second attempt, I think they asked me this different set of questions, and I was able to answer every question, because the way I prepared, I was not expecting those kind of questions. So you should not be disappointed from the rejections. Similarly, when I was applying for PhD, I think I got 20 or 15 rejections before getting first acceptance, but that's the way of life. From each rejection, you learn something. So you keeps yourself motivated, do hard work, and don't be disappointed.
Thank you, Dr. Salman. That's the word. Try hard, never give up. Thank you for your inspiration. Thank you for your guidance. And I hope you keep on shining your light on us and keep on helping us through our processes. And that's it. Thank you. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you very much, and Eid Mubarak to you in advance.
Thank you, Dr. Salman. Eid Mubarak to you too. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.